weeks that I had images of outside images. I don't remember that. All I know is that I wasn't aware of anything other than the fact that I was there, and with nothing happening to help me position myself. That's not very clear.
You felt alone.
I felt very much alone. Now, Barbara, where's the book?
Right here. Pick it up again.
Yeah. Barbara asked me, and then in response to my inability to say anything, Barbara then said, what is written here, I've said, my heart pounded all the time and I could not say your name. What was there to frighten you? Asked Barbara. Again I stammered something about images of the outside world. I don't recall that. I don't know why I said that. Yes, I don't know. Barbara then asked if we were prepared to carry out what he asked for 7 nights. We said yes. I certainly said yes. Barbara replied, "Do not be frightened. There is nothing to fear. Don't force your attention. Keep awake and don't move. Even if a snake crosses your legs, let it pass by. And love Barbara during the half hours. Fear means there is no love." That's the important message. Think of Barbara from the bottom of your hearts. After 7 nights, you will have a glimpse of Barbara. Why this fear? Francis of Assisi and Francis Xavier loved Christ with all their might, and what they suffered, none of you could guess. But fear was foreign to them. Do not fear, love me. Don't be troubled, think of Barbara and be happy. And that has been the basis of my life. There's no question that was the beginning of a realization. Now, it has grown, but there's no question that I've realized that the only answer is love for him, nothing else. Yes, it is true that if you love and you also have knowledge, as Barbara has said, it is love that will take one through to God. If you have read of the discourses of Maya Barbara, and thought about what Barbara has said and absorbed it, yes, you may then be able to help others. But knowledge, no matter how much I wrote down during those days, that will never take me to God. It is only love for him that enables one to survive.
Take love or something, but you can repeat that once again.
Yes. You remember, I was telling you about the first night that I spent in accordance with Barbara's instructions, and how difficult it was for me to say his name inwardly, to think of him and to say his name. So Barbara, of course, the next morning asked us if we were prepared to go on. And of course, we said yes. I mean, I certainly was. And so the second night I found much easier. And I was able to think of Barbara, to say his name inwardly, and I definitely felt much more comfortable. So when I said this to Maya Baba the next morning, in that west room where we would gather, Baba said, "Forget it, don't do any more." And and I've often thought, on the one hand, was it the case where Baba said I was hopeless, there's no point in doing anything more, or was it that I had absorbed the lesson? And also you could say that it was a test for me, because the experience of the first night was so strong. So it was quite extreme for me. I'd never experienced such a thing. It's absolutely unusual.
So, 56 years later in your life, how has that affected you? I mean, that lesson.
Yeah, from my point of view, that was the beginning of my, perhaps you could say, my relationship with Baba, in the sense that I realized, that was the beginning of me realizing that love was so important. Up to that point, yes, there was no question I was convinced of Baba's divinity, that Baba was, as I've read God in human form, and I felt, and certainly in everything that I had read, discourses and whatever I had absorbed of his life, there was no question of his status, but it was intellectual. And two things happened, and that, I feel, that was the beginning, was that how important love is. That increasingly over the years I realized how reluctant the mind is to accept change, to accept restraint, to accept denial. And I know, there's no question, I know now that it is only the thought of beloved Baba and the wish to please him, to act in a way that would make him smile and respond lovingly, is to have love for him. We can talk about this further, because certain things happened during my time with Baba where this became, this matter certainly has come up again. The other interesting thing with regard to cutting it short, while during the 3 incredible weeks, also Maya Baba said to us, to the 18 or 20 men that were there, I've forgotten the number, I think it was 18 or 19. Another thing he said was that we were to sit apart, sit away from each other, wherever we wished, and for half an hour, 9 a.m. to 9:30, we were to visualize him, to picture him for that half hour. And again he said that we were to do it for 7 mornings. Well, I think we did it for 2 or 3. Now offhand I can't remember. But again he cut it short. And
so those are the little exercises gave.
Exactly. Another exercise that he gave, not for us necessarily to do there, but to have in mind always, was to think of him at least 4 times a day. To think of him when we woke up, to think of him at 12 noon, 5 p.m. and just before going to sleep. And again, I found that, all I can say is that I tried to do that like I'm sure the other men did too. But what I found was that I didn't necessarily remember it at noon, but I'd remember and think, oh, I must remember at noon. So in a way, it was Barbara's way of getting us to think of him more than just 4 times in the day.
Because you're thinking about that every time to remind you.
That's right, exactly. And of course, it's also a challenge to remember him when you wake up in the morning instead of saying, oh,
Cup of coffee.
a cup of tea or coffee. Yes, exactly. And last thing at night, it's such an interesting challenge, and yet, as Barbara has said, think of me. You should think of me all the time. That I am the only reality. What else is there but me? And yet he also has said, I remember him saying this to Artie Senior, one of Barbara's close ones. He was young and he was studying at college, and Barbara was saying to him that he should think of him all the time. He should always be aware of him and saying his name. And Artie said, but what also when I'm studying?